Anyway, but this isn't what I wanted to talk about. This isn't the biggest fucking news out there. The biggest news is your Boston Celtics, NBA action is fantastic, are going to the NBA Finals against the Golden State Warriors. And I have to tell you something. I tried to watch that Game 7. I cannot watch the fucking NBA. Like, I don't understand how sports fans watch the NBA and not realize that this shit it's just assisted. You're watching assisted reality. That's what it is. Like, the level of power that officials have, I just refuse to believe. I'm not saying that the game is fixed. I'm saying that it is controlled. Like, the level of control that the referee has. Here's the deal. All right, the first quarter belongs to the players. The second quarter, if need be, the officials insert themselves to make sure that it's only going to be a 5 to 7 point game by halftime. So if somebody comes out and they're fucking hot and they're up by 15, 17, 20 points, the NBA, they can't have that. The casual fan's going to turn the fucking channel. But fortunately, it's basketball. And the referee has the ability to take players out of the game by calling fouls on them or, just calling fouls on the whole team and getting them in the penalty, which puts the other team on the fucking line. I swear to God, how many fucking times can you NBA fans watch a team have a fucking 20-point lead and just watch it evaporate in the final fucking 6 minutes of a quarter and then cue the Stephen A. Smith guy at halftime to inject drama in this what should have been a dramaless game, going like, I'll tell you right now, I am really concerned about the team that was up by 20 is now only up by 6. And you think you're watching a game. Then they come out third quarter, they let them play for half a fucking quarter. And the fucking job of the referee is to make sure that it comes down to the final 2 fucking minutes. That's what it is. It's a business. It's a fucking business. And I really believe that, like, it's cast like a show, all right? And what they repeat every year, is they're trying to get Celtics versus Lakers. Not those teams, but the Lakers through shrewd moves and a trade, and the Celtics through the same thing in the 1980s were basically 2 super teams. And they were these 2 juggernauts that faced off year after year. And because of that, the NBA, with the help of Dr. J first, then it was Bird and Magic, and that just took it to the stratosphere, and they ended up passing baseball and football, and I believe they became the number 1 sport in the 80s. And then Michael Jordan carried him the rest of the way to 1998. And ever since then, like during that time, that became their fucking business model. So what they do is I just feel like they try to recreate the Showtime Lakers and the 80s Celtics by allowing these pile-on teams to happen. So they have these 2 juggernauts. And then the referee's job is to kind of, not fix the game, but massage it enough that the biggest money-making scheme has the best chance of getting to the big dance. That's what I feel. Because I feel like last night, if Miami was on their game and they went up by 15 or 17, I'm telling you, Miami would have been in the penalty by the second quarter, and then the Celtics would be able to shave it to 8 or 9 to keep people hanging in there watching the game. I don't understand how the fuck you guys can keep looking at this shit and not think that this is what it is. I mean, some of those fucking calls. And then the great thing is all you got to do is just have a shit call, the air quote makeup call, and then that becomes that's their alibi. It's like the Chris Paul move. When they didn't let Chris Paul go to the Lakers, that's their fucking alibi when I sit there and say, like, yeah, dude, they just allow these super teams to happen. And every fucking mouth-breathing moron always goes, well, what about the Chris Paul trade? And I always go, give me another one. And they got nothing. They got nothing because they allow it to happen. I'm telling you, it's cast like a fucking show. And so when I watch the NBA, I watch the first quarter, I watch the beginning of the third quarter to the referees start imposing their will, and then I come back in the final 2 minutes knowing that, 7 out of 10 times it's going to come down to the wire because that keeps people watching, and it's a fucking business. All right? I don't know. I hate to say there's no Santa Claus, but, like, I've just seen too many. I remember Stern saying, what's your dream final? And he's like, the Lakers versus the Lakers. And that doesn't mean he's a Laker fan. It just meant they got the best ratings, and that makes me the most money. You know, I remember hearing a particular player ask them what happened in that series, and he said, we didn't fit the NBA's script this year. I remember they had a mobbed up ref, which this was outside the NBA. That's another thing, too, is there's inherent leaks in the dam over in the NBA, I believe, because of the level of power that an NBA ref has. It was inevitable that the mob was going to get in the ear of some referee. And the fact that they did the Lee Harvey Oswald on him and they just did the lone gunman magic bullet bullshit. I've said this since this shit happened. If you were on an officiating crew and one of the guys on your crew was fixing games, how fucking long would it take you to figure that out? I'm saying by the second quarter in the second game, you'd be pulling me aside going, Bill, what the fuck? What, you all right, dude? You going through some shit in your personal life? Like, what's going on here? I don't. That's just my opinion. So I'm not saying that the best teams don't fucking win. I'm just saying that I feel it feels like a show to me, more so than any other sport, you know, where I feel like, you know, hockey's a fucking free-for-all. Yeah, I just feel like the rest of them, the star players get the calls. That's sort of straight across the board. But basketball's the only one I watch where I'm like, okay, they're calling it tight. Now they're letting them play. Now they're calling it tight again. It's just like I don't know. I don't know. Call me nuts. Call me a fucking. I mean, I remember when I said it was fixed in the 2000s and everybody looked at me like I was a lunatic, but I was also, talking about the Federal Reserve and all kinds of other shit. And I remember when that guy got busted and I went down to the cellar thinking I was going to be vindicated, and everybody was just, it was just one guy. They literally just say, they just say what they heard on TV. It was just like, they have weapons of mass destruction. And everybody's like, they have weapons of mass destruction. And then they couldn't find it. And they were like, well, it's a liberation. And then people are like, it's a liberation. It was just one guy. It was just one guy. Whatever. That's my shit. Like, I was so upset watching that game yesterday. I was just like, I'm not fucking doing this again. And I literally walked out and I went back in enough to see that time when that guy on the Heat took that off-balance shot, and after the ball was released, like, Jason Tatum touched the side of his hip the way you would high-five a baby. And the guy blew the whistle, and I think he blew the whistle because Tatum was near him, and the guy was all off-balance, and he was like, that shit ain't going in. And then it fucking went in. He's, even better, and one. Let's make it closer. I think they have these little fucking wires on them, the referees. And the commissioner, when it's getting too fucking crazy, he zaps them, like how they train like a shelter dog, and then their fucking arm goes up. All right, I'm getting a little crazy. All right, I am getting a little crazy, but I really do believe that the NBA is massaged. I'm not saying it's fixed, but it's definitely, there's the scenario that they're looking for. If it was fixed, though, if it really was fixed, I don't think the Spurs win all those championships because they weren't what the NBA would call an exciting team for the casual fan. I love the fucking Spurs. I love the disciplined team like that. I love the fucking, a guy turnaround jumper off the glass. I love that shit, right? But I just feel like, and in defense of the NBA, I think all sports in general, out of greed, have really tried to ramp up the offense. It's not necessarily just out of greed. It's also out of the fact that there's now Netflix and the internet and video games and all of this internet porn, all of this shit that people want, cord cutters and all that. So they have to just it's got to be like I think that Chiefs-Bills game in the playoffs last year is what the fuck they're looking for every game. And I was really astounded by the amount of people that called themselves football fans that enjoyed that game. I'm like, oh, so you just like to see scoring and the worst fucking defense you've ever seen in your life? So you're not a fan of the fucking, the Steel Curtain, the Doomsday Defense, the Orange Crush, the Soul Patrol, the Purple People Eaters, back when defenses don't have fucking nicknames anymore. Then it all became the Three-Headed Monster, the Greatest Show on Turf, the fucking Three Amigos and all of this shit. It just became all about offenses. Never used to have the run and gun. They just slowly, they started taking over. I just realized I should be sitting in a chair right now with old man slippers on and a blanket over my legs going like, hey, let me tell you how sports used to be. So I'll take that from you guys, all right? I am an old man. But I'm going to watch the finals or whatever. Now, here's what I think about the final, all right? I feel like the Celtics are like a mid-season replacement. You know what I mean? They have a couple of nice ideas out there. But, we have our Jennifer Anistons and Courtney Cox, but we don't have a good villain. You got to have the cutie pie stars, but you need a good villain. And I feel like the Golden State Warriors, they have their Jennifer Aniston, and then they have their bad guys. So I think that's why they've made it to syndication over the last 7 years. I think that's why the network of NBA keeps greenlighting them to go to the finals. Where I feel like the Celtics, they're like a draft away on the script before they feel like they can make some money off of these guys. I don't know. We shall see. Now, here's the deal. If they just let them play, and these fucking refs don't impose their will. That's another thing, too. Like, name a sport, any other sport, where the officiating crew literally dictates the tempo of the game. Speeding it up, slowing it down, and all of that shit. And look, I understand, like in hockey, they got to do something to, if it's getting too fucking violent, they have to do something. I get that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, tension and release, pulling back on the fucking reins to make sure, All right, Bill, I think you've made your point. Okay, all right. Whatever. Blame it on the espresso. It's just how I feel. But here's a go. If the Celtics and the Warriors just play, I don't think that this is either going to be the Warriors are just going to destroy us or the Celtics are going to win. And if the Celtics win, it's going 7. And I don't know enough about hoop, admittedly. I know enough to know that something's going on. But, if we can D them up, I think it's going to take 7 games for us to beat them. But they've been there before a bunch of times. And I think they could easily just steamroll us. But I think if we just get a victory early, get a little confidence, and we drag them into the deep water, I don't think that they're built to go 7. And I can say this as a almost 54-year-old white guy who can barely hit a layup. That's my prediction. That's my tale of the tape.